Can we all just get along? America, we need a little bit of that today. America, it looks like pot may be making its way to beating pop or soda. According to the research firm Cowen Co, the U.S. legal cannabis industry is expected to reach $75 billion in total sales in 2030. That's larger than the North America soda market in 2017. With soda sales in decline, cannabis growing rapidly as more states legalize the plant. 9 states and the District of Columbia now allow pot for recreational use. That means more than 1 in 5 American adults can now smoke, vape, eat, or drink however they please. Let's take a closer look at how these two industries are faring out as the battle for pot legalization continues all across the United States of America. And I would be remiss if I talked about pot and didn't talk about this week's breaking news. Former Speaker of the House, John Boehner, has changed his position on cannabis. Yes, indeed, America, it is true. John Boehner has now joined a new financial group that focuses on funding cultivation. And in a tweet, he basically says, while I've never smoked pot before, America, I have changed my position on it. And now, I've joined this company that finances people growing pot. What a difference time makes. And he also talks about how we should reschedule, which means changing pot in the Controlled Substances Act to make it not a legal drug. This is wild. It's wild times, right? And it's interesting to me because there is a racial undertone here. And before I get into the story, I want to talk about that. Because I would argue, since the beginning of time, for white boys, pot's always sort of been legal. I mean, when was the last time you've seen a drug bust happen in a gated community? Let's just be real. I mean, I grew up in one of these sort of created communities, Western Florida, if you Google it. It's when a developer builds a number of homes, a number of gated communities, and then they sort of incorporate it into a city. Parkland is another one. And, oh no, we had pot. I mean, we had pot starting, the first time I saw pot growing up as a kid was like the 6th grade. Yeah. Well, there was never a drug bust. I don't remember kids getting arrested in my high school for smoking weed. Because for rich or upper middle class white folk, pot's been legal for decades. Because of the theory of broken windows and because, police in upper echelon communities look the other way when they see people smoking pot. But in black and brown communities, when you see a black man on the corner slinging dime bags, all of a sudden, it's illegal. And they go to jail for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. America, as we continue to legalize pot, and you continue to see people make billions of dollars, and you see people like John Boehner, Speaker of the House, change his position on marijuana, remember that there's still, I want people to remember, right? You guys know, like, I'm not one of those people that sit there and I don't blame everything on race, because I don't believe that. I think there's racial undertones to everything. But in this particular one, I don't want to blame anything on race. I just want people out there to remember this. When people like John Boehner, who now sits on this board of directors that he's probably going to show up to 1 meeting a quarter and make $250,000 to $1 million a year to show up to these meetings. I want you to remember, hear me. Like, I want whatever you're doing right now, stop what you're doing and listen to what I'm saying. Speaker of the House, John Boehner, now sits on a board of an organization that literally funds people growing weed. While that's happening, meanwhile, back at the ranch, there are still black brothers and brown brothers locked up in prison for slinging dime bags on the corner. America. You hear me? Have you taken the sticks out of your ears to hear me? The Speaker of the House, the former Speaker of the House, that's the 3rd person in line of succession to be the President of the United States. The 3rd most powerful person in the country. The 3rd most powerful person in the country. Sits on a board that invests millions of dollars so that white boys can grow pot. I have no problem with it. I think it's great. Congratulations, John. I'm happy that we're finally having a conversation about legalizing marijuana. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, there are millions of black and brown brothers sitting in jail for doing the same thing that John Boehner is now getting paid $1 million or quarter to $1 million to sit on a board of individuals to do. I just wanted to point that out. I wanted to point out America's hypocrisy on this particular movement. And to all those individuals out there who are in part of the cannabis growing movement, I'm talking to you now. And many of you are watching this video, and you guys, so I'm talking about to these, and I applaud you, to the cultivators in DC, to the cultivators in Oregon, to the cultivators in California, to the cultivators in Colorado. You guys have an amazing business model, and it's something to be proud of, and it's something to applaud. Now I want to say this to you. As you guys continue to push for your movement to legalize marijuana in more and more and more states, remember this, because other movements have forgotten it, and because they've forgotten it, they failed. You cannot run this movement, and you cannot win without black and brown voters. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it with millennial whites and some Republicans. Like, that's not going to get you over the finish line. You need to begin to have a conversation with black and brown people about the legalization of marijuana. And in these ballot initiatives that you try to get on the ballot to legalize weed, try putting in a provision to rolling back some of the sentences for brothers that are currently locked up. Like, finding a way to saying, listen, beyond just legalizing marijuana, we should be going back in time and purging the sentences. That might not be the legal term, but purging sentences for some of these people who are basically doing the same thing we're doing, who went to jail, right? Because all you guys are doing is what they've been doing, slinging dime bags, right? You guys have a store, they did on the street corner. Same thing, same business. You guys sold wrapping paper, they sold wrapping paper. So I just want to point that out. Now I'm going to get to the story, but I really wanted to make that point because I think it's a really, it speaks to when black people get upset and when black people get angry and when black people block streets and shut down roads and we say Black Lives Matter, right? And people are like, oh, you guys it's all about the police and you guys are just angry and blah, 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 blah. Underlying all of that is shit like this. It's because we see John Boehner, former Speaker of the House, we see stats that the weed industry is getting ready to surpass soda in money. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, our brothers and our sisters and, you know, people's tias and people's madres and people's padres are still behind bars for doing the same thing that you guys are. Y'all are going to banks and we're going to bars. Not to drink, we're going to be behind bars. You guys are behind you guys are in boardrooms, we're in courtrooms for the same thing. But I digress. Back to this story. So, remember, and here's the thing, we have a universal enemy here. So this is where I think we can work together. And we at the Fowler Show are willing to work with any of these individuals. Like any of these companies who are like, Richard, you are right. We do need to have a conversation with black and brown people. Help us do it. We don't know how to do it. Call us here at the Fowler Show. We want to help. Right? Because we have a universal enemy. And one of them, and his name is Jeff Sessions. Here's what he said about weed.
Marijuana is not the kind of thing that ought to be legalized. It ought not to be minimized. That it's in fact a very real danger. So,
soda sales have surpassed marijuana, which was a story that I was supposed to talk about. And I guess it's a good thing. So people are, I guess, healthier, but they smoke more pot.